I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your cattle market summary for the week ending July the 28th, where the entire week this past week was spent trying to deal with the blown placement figure on the cattle on feed report that come out a whole week before. And you know, I've talked about it a lot this week. It was really inexcusable. You've got a small panel of analysts there that are used to put together that Urner Barry estimate for the cattle on feed reports and the inventory reports and what have you, but didn't even get close. You know, the report come out with placements being 116.1% of the same time a year ago, and their estimate was 105.9, more than 10%. You can flag a car down and get closer to that. The wildest to high guess that they had on there, of course they average them all together to come up with the estimate, but the highest guess on there was 107. Your auction receipts for the 5 weeks that ended in June, which would be cattle going through sale barns, and you would assume that a high percentage of those, especially this time of year since all of our pastures are either full or been grazed off, those cattle would be going into some kind of a feeding facility. So your auction receipts for that exact time were up 9% compared to a year ago. That would be where you would begin and then adjust from there. And then knowing that we have a lot bigger calf crop than what we've been having the last few years, you would want to go up. But it's just unbelievable how far they missed that. And it's not a big deal to them, you know, they say whoops, but what about the guy that's got 2 or 3 loads of yearlings promised to sell on this past Monday, or maybe consigned to a video sale, or you know, it shouldn't hurt the fat cattle market, but it did some, got fat cattle on the show list. You know, it has real implications in the real world. And it just goes to show, to me anyway, that they've got models in there that are out of date, that that don't have enough fundamentals in them. Because like I say, you look, if they sold 9% more cattle through the sale barns in June, you would think that it would be 9% at least more, and then adjust from there, and you'd have been a heck of a lot closer than what they were. But it's been a hard thing for this market to get over. You know, we started out down the limit on a Monday and we started getting better. This market is very resilient. You got to be proud of the market, especially feeder cattle, but fats are hanging in there too. But you look at some more information that we derived from those reports that come out, as we also had the mid-year inventory report. But you know, of course, a lot of lightweights included in those placements, which you know, that doesn't hurt our market right away. We're going to have some pressure on it down the road, but we've been moving a lot of lightweights right on to feed early, because these guys that are true hedgers, that's where they had to go to be able to get something that would work. And you know, a lot of these farmer feeders have been pushing hard on these bigger cattle. Well, the guys that are in the market year round and are 100% hedgers, they had to back off and get into some lightweights and move to those. But you look, it shows that we are done with herd rebuilding, because the number of heifers on feed in for this past cattle on feed report was up 11%. That many fewer kept. Your replacement beef replacements down 2% from the same time a year ago, as we saw in the cattle inventory report. Bad thing about that cattle inventory report is that they didn't have one the same time last year, so it's hard to really make comparisons since you had to go back 2 years ago. But if estimates are right, your 2017 calf crop will be the largest in 10 years, 6.5% larger than the same report 2 years ago. Your feeder supplies out there are 4.5% larger than 2 years ago. Back to your cattle on feed report, we saw that drought had something to do with the increase in placements. Not enough to really push it all the way up there. That just had to do with larger calf crop and more cattle selling. But your South Dakota, where the worst of the drought's been, the placements in South Dakota alone were up 67% compared to the same report a year ago. but it's just been tough to get through. You look what it did to the board. Your live cattle futures, the October contract, Monday was down to $3 limit. Tuesday was down $1.62. Wednesday up 60 cents, Thursday up 20 cents, and Friday back down $1.15, with October ending the week at 112.42, down $4.98 with all of your big losses there early in the week. Feeder cattle, the August contract, Monday started out down to $4.50 limit because of that miss in the placement figure. Tuesday was down $1.92, Wednesday down a nickel, Thursday up $1.35, and then Friday down $1.77 to end the week, with August feeders at $146.05, down $6.90. Your fats, you know, a cattle on feed report, shocker, should not have anything to do with fats, because that you're already done. Your fats are already there, but anything in cattle, especially your fat cattle market, is going to try to get some pressure from anywhere that it can, and it did lend pressure to it. Your fat cattle market, we kind of had a funny trade there. We had some early week trade, you know, 45,000 or so, but not enough. We knew we needed some trade later in the week. But Thursday, it hardly got reported, but they had over 20,000 head of sales on Thursday. So that pushed it up through Thursday, 72,300 head, and then a little bit more cleanup trade on Friday, I think more than they had reported. So we should be able to get up there, you know, around 90,000 at least for the week, but we'll find out on Monday. Monday's close whenever we get the full weighted average. But through Thursday on 72,300 head in your 5-area feeding region, your weighted average steer price on a live basis was $117.18. Your dressed steer weighted average was $187.88. Both of them roughly down $2. So not too bad. We're still holding in there pretty well, but we're going to be under pressure in this fat deal for maybe in the next month or so. But when we get into fall, we should maybe get a little shot in the arm. And the best thing is our box beef cutout values seem to have found some solid footing, as they've been dropping like a rock here for the last 6-8 weeks. But your box beef cutout values on the average of the week's sales for last week, your choice cutouts brought 206.92, which was down just 92 cents from the average of the previous week. Your selects average trade was 197.63, actually up $2.24. So that's a pretty good sign, really. And now your spread between the two is just $9.33, is really tightened back up. Your actual dressed steer weights for the week ending July the 15th come in 1 pound lighter than the previous report at 865 pounds. There's no doubt that's got to do with the heat, and I wouldn't be surprised, even though we're getting into heavier cattle, if those weights don't either stay the same or shrink back a little more, because it'll be for those weeks that we're in that sweltering heat that we just got out of. But we seem to have found a reprieve from all this heat. Some temperatures got back into normal, kind of back in the 80s. This past week we saw some nice rains all around, top to bottom, all through the midsection of the United States, in the Corn Belt, in some of the driest spots, which was a godsend to get some rain in the Dakotas and places, and really help those guys out. They've had to sell a lot of cows off, having to pull calves early, having to shut calves up and feed them, because it's just been so dry up in that country. And that's not a country that has to deal regularly with drought every year like we do down in the southern plains, but it's sure been a tough one this year. But your slaughter's been aggressive this past week, 627,000 head killed, up 5,000 from the previous week, up 47,000 from the same week a year ago. You look at some feeder markets, your cash feeders through the week, we saw that big loss early in the week, and then it just, we found some better markets through the week, but as a whole, your cash feeder market really down $4 to $6. Your real-time index on Beef Market Central ended the week at 145.82. That was down just over $5 from the end of the previous week, so that goes to show you that we've lost that much ground. as we come into these big high volume Monday sales, I think we should either be steady or maybe just a little firmer, like in Oklahoma City, because they really suffered the brunt of that because there was so much uncertainty coming out on a Monday morning with the board down the limit, and everybody just dwelling on that big missed placement figure. But I think maybe as they recover from that, I'm not saying that the market's any better, but I think maybe they oversold it a little bit. So I would think Oklahoma City would be steady to strong. Joplin maybe not, because Joplin had a real light run last week and really didn't lose a whole lot of ground because there wasn't enough to test. But you look back at a big sale this past week with Northern Livestock Video in Billings, Montana. Picked out one sale through there on some yearlings that I thought was really good. MRD Incorporated had a set of 360 head, 875 pound home raised yearlings there in Seneca, Nebraska for early August delivery. They're not all natural, they're not any big bells and whistles, just good green yearlings right there. And 875 pounders there brought 166. But from a home DB auction office here in Canyon, Texas, that's a look at your week's cattle summary. We'll talk to you next week.